Hello and welcome to another episode of Quarantine with Fulbrighters. We have Dr. Usman Zaheer here with us, who has a PhD from Colorado State University. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well, Shahzad. How about you?
Good, good, good. Since I am a comedian and I don't know much about biology, I'll let you explain to our guests what your PhD is in.
Thank you so much, Shahzad. So definitely, epidemiology is as a branch of science, or specifically the health sciences, which relates to the diseases at a population level, not just at the level of a person, but at the level of a community. If we are talking about people at a community level, at a city level, at a national level, or at an international level, and if we talk about animals, so it relates to dealing with the health issues of animals at a herd level or a farm level, or even likewise for people. As for people, it also deals with health of animals at a bigger scale, such as regional scale or international scale. So as we have heard during the COVID times, epidemiology and its significance has become even more prominent during the recent times since 2019.
So you're working as a surveillance lead at Health Security Partners, and you're responsible for the health and safety of not only us human beings but also animals and the environment. But if I may just ask you to explain to our audience what your specific field is. So antimicrobial resistance, is that what all the conversation now is about, how we're becoming resistant to antibiotics? Is that what it is?
Well, Shahzad, if we talk about antibiotic resistance or what specifically I do, so before I explain what I do, I would like to give some information or share some thoughts about what antibiotic resistance is. So antibiotics were discovered, and these are very important medicines that we people take for curing different diseases, and this has helped humankind for increasing their life expectancy. That now people live longer because with the help of antibiotics, people can live longer because we are able to treat the diseases of people. At the same time, antibiotics have been very useful and essential for health and welfare of animals as well, and also for the agriculture and plant production and crop production. But as you know, excess of everything is bad, and the bugs which cause disease in people, specifically we talk about bacteria. These are small microscopic bugs which cause disease in both people, animals, and also they cause disease in our crops as well. So what happened is these bugs are naturally getting resistant. That's the natural phenomenon. However, the man-made effect of excessive use of antibiotics, both in people, animals, and also in our environments or in our crop production, has exaggerated or exacerbated the problem of antibiotic resistance, due to which what happened is now the bugs which were treatable with little quantity of antibiotics or with first line antibiotics, now they are not being treated with those antibiotics. Now we need to have a very strong and potent antibiotics. There is a need for development of new antibiotics, which is the R&D, research and development in antibiotic discovery, is very slow compared to compared to the fact that efficacy of these drugs is reducing day by day. So what happened is over the past few years, this issue of antibiotic resistance has taken quite a lot of global attention. Recently, there was a study that was published in a scientific journal called The Lancet, which revealed that in 2019, there were 1.27 million deaths of people across the world due to resistant causing bacteria only. So this is now the third leading cause of death in people. It's about quite a big number that now we are getting to realize that we need to rationalize, we need to use these antibiotics with care. Because if we don't use these antibiotics with care now, what will happen is our future generations will be out of options to treat infections that affect us humans. At the same time, if we do not use these antibiotics rationally, what will happen is our animals productivity will drop. What will happen, our animals will get sick, We will not be able to treat those animals. Once we are not able to treat those animals, what will happen is the cost of production will definitely increase. It will put an excessive burden on the farmers as well, and the same goes for the crop production. So in a nutshell, there is need overall to be more careful in the use of antibiotics, not just in people, but also in our livestock and our crop production, so that we can save these antibiotics. Now, if we
It's
talk
at a
about
societal level. So when we put blame on human beings by saying our mothers give us augmentin for every single thing, they're not to blame. It's a societal level problem. It's not just Pakistani doctors and Pakistani mothers repeatedly using antibiotics on their children.
well, I think it's not, we cannot blame one person or one segment of the society. It's a shared blame, it's a shared responsibility. It's a global public good. If everyone need to take action, from our societal level to our medical practitioners, to our veterinarians, to our policymakers. Like if we talk about policymakers, they are the ones who can regulate and who can develop the policies which can regulate the use of these antibiotics or availability of these antibiotics. For instance, if our mothers use augmentin for any other issue that the kids face at home, it's just because of the reason that augmentin is freely available in the market. One can just go on any pharmacy and get augmentin. So it's a shared responsibility, and addressing this issue requires a holistic and a very comprehensive approach overall.
But does it
So
work at a
if
human
you
level
allow me,
also as opposed to a societal level? So if I've been taking augmentin for everything, will augmentin not be as effective on me as a person as well?
yes. Well, look, what happened is, it may be that you get over the illness. You next time you do not get illness from the same bug, that you may not feel the same issue in yourself. But what will happen is, the bugs that cause disease in one person do not uh, are not restricted to the same person. Bugs travel. We have seen this in case of COVID currently, that bugs can travel easily from one place to another. That's a virus, but here we are talking about specifically for antibiotics when we talk about bacteria. But these bugs can easily travel. Like for instance, in Pakistan, there was outbreak of drug-resistant typhoid, and this typhoid traveled from Pakistan to other countries as well. So these bugs uh, do not bother about any borders. These borders are only for the travel of people. But when it comes to the travel of bugs, they can just go anywhere where people go. So because when we travel, we take these bugs with us. Likewise, when animals travel, animals can take these bugs from one place to another. That's what is happening with this globalization and with the overall anthropogenic events or man-made events.
So now let's talk about antimicrobial research.
So if, as you were talking about what actually or exactly I am currently engaged with, I'm a veterinarian. I have a PhD in epidemiology, as you earlier stated, and I am affiliated with Health Security Partners, which is a US-based organization which is working in Pakistan for quite some time now. And Health Security Partners is a consortium partners with 4 other organizations in Pakistan, which are mainly it is led by DAI. DAI is yet another US-based organization. In the US, it is known as DI Global LLC, and we have 2 other partners: Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine in UK and Indus Hospital and Health Network in Pakistan. So these 4 organizations work through a fund from the UK aid, UK government's Department of Health and Social Care, and the fund is called the Fleming Fund, which is on the name of the Sir Alexander Fleming, who discovered antibiotics. So this fund is working in low and middle income countries across the world to tackle antibiotic resistance with a One Health approach. This One Health approach is that you cannot solve the problems of this world just by focusing on one sector. You need to have people from our expertise and experts from different stakeholders, different sectors, whether it is medical professionals, veterinary professionals, economists, policymakers, computer scientists. You need all of those to address these issues. So now if we talk about my work as a veterinarian, my main role is within the animal health sector here. And in the animal health sector in Pakistan, we mainly work with the federal government's Ministry of National Food Security and Research, its research laboratories at the federal level, and also we work closely with at the provincial level with provincial livestock departments, where we are mainly engaged with the capacity strengthening of our laboratory personnel, because when it comes to antibiotic resistance, so what happens is, Shahzad, we get sick, we take augmentin. We take augmentin without any advice from doctor and any advice which is supported or corroborated by the laboratory evidence. So what ideally should happen is, when a person gets sick or an animal is sick, the sample should go to laboratory immediately. The laboratory should test it and identify which specific antibiotic should be given to the person so that the person can get treated. So we are strengthening the capacity of the laboratories at the federal level. So at the federal level in Pakistan, in Islamabad, we are supporting national veterinary laboratories, which is here in Chak Shahzad area. And then we are also supporting National Reference Lab for Poultry Diseases. Both of these are under the Ministry of National Food Security and Research. We have supported in the refurbishments and renovations of these labs to a certain level as described and required by the World Health Organization. When a lab need to work on drug-resistant bugs, there has to be a certain level of capacity that the lab should have. So our project, definitely under the leadership of the ministry, have provided that civil works and refurbishment support to these federal labs, and also provided capacity strengthening to their personnel as well, provided specific trainings to the laboratory staff so that they can engage in state-of-the-art laboratory diagnostics, so that our laboratory people are at par in capacity and expertise as people in other advanced countries are. So in addition, we are supporting provincial laboratories. As I earlier described, that we are working with the provincial livestock departments in Punjab, in Sindh, Azad Jammu and Kashmir, and other parts of the country.
So is this primarily for animal safety? Is this primarily for animal safety and research? Because you also mentioned food safety. Is over medicating animals, does that also affect the food safety for human beings?
Well, that's a very good point that you highlighted, Shahzad. Well, when antimicrobials or antibiotics are excessively used in animals, so what happens is these antibiotics make the bacteria or the bugs in the animals become resistant. So what happens is, when you and I consume food from these animals, there is likelihood that you and I can catch those bugs, and these are the bugs which can cause disease in people as well. So it's a zoonotic issue. Zoonotic, by zoonotic we mean any disease or any bug that can cause disease in people as well as in animals. So what happens is, if a certain bug is causing a disease in an animal, and there was excessive use of antibiotic and that bug got resistant, and then what happens is, when we consume that food, it is likely that we get that resistant bug. It caused disease in people, and people then are not living life to an expectancy that they should be living. So it is a very wicked problem, and it is an issue of food safety. That's why it is required and essential that use of antibiotics in animals is also regulated. And there is a need for generating data through research, to which our project through the labs is supporting. That now we are getting data of resistance in poultry as well as in cattle and buffalo from slaughterhouses and chicken slaughter shops across the country, so that we can know what exactly are we eating and what exactly is the level of threat or that we are getting from unsafe meat, if any, we are consuming.
So the FDA regulates food heavily in the US at times. Companies think the FDA is over-intrusive or overprotective even. Is there a similar organization in Pakistan that does the job, and do you think they have the resources, considering Pakistan is dealing with a million pandemics and a million issues at all fronts? Do you feel like food and drug safety is a priority in Pakistan?
Well, that's a very
loaded question.
That's a very complex question. and I'll try to do justice to when I respond to this one. Well, in the US, if we talk about in the US, food and similar aspects are regulated by two main agencies. One is the Food and Drug Administration, which regulates the drugs as well as some foods. And also it is regulated by Food Safety and Inspection Service of the US Department of Agriculture when it comes to slaughterhouses and those aspects. So these two agencies in the US have a lot of political support, and they have a lot of technical capacity and expertise when they regulate such issues in the country. They are also supported by the legislations. So it is being done quite well in the US. I can say it because when I was in the US, I also got board certified in veterinary preventive medicine,
Nice.
which mainly deals with the operations of different agencies, including FDA, USDA, and including CDC. But if we talk about Pakistan, again, in Pakistan, this is again a very complex problem. Antibiotic resistance is overall is a very complex problem. In Pakistan, there are several issues in terms of veterinary legislations. I was just part of veterinary legislations framework meetings this week until yesterday, where there was an online mission from World Organization for Animal Health, OIE, which is similar to World Health Organization, which is for human health, but World Organization for Animal Health is a very similar organization with global presence for animal health issues. We were discussing about veterinary legislation issues. So the main problem, one of the main problem is that we do not have enough legislations in the first place. And if there is any, there is not much implementation and accountability to that. So we were talking about antibiotics yesterday in the legislation meeting. There were several issues with the existing legislation. We are working through the Ministry of National Food Security and Research, which is the overall custodian for animal health related issues in the country, and when it comes to imports and exports of animals and their products, and also when it comes to international reporting. Ministry of Food Security is the lead ministry for that. We were discussing all that. In addition, there is quite a lot of role of Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan. Drug Regulatory Authority is working to address this issue, but we are treated in the same way as the human health medicines or the general medicines for people. But there is definitely need for mobilizing more resources within the Drug Regulatory Authority and regulating the veterinary drugs more carefully than it has been happening. So there is a lot that needs to be done. And through our work that we do with the Fleming Fund in country, through health security partners and other consortium partners, we are trying to reach out to different stakeholders, policymakers, legislators, and to achieve political commitment and political support. Like in 2021, our team met with the President of Pakistan so that we can highlight the issue of antibiotic resistance to the President of Pakistan, so that we can get political support as well. Because in Pakistan, there are a plethora of problems. We have limited resources. We have 2 rupees, but our problems are for 100 rupees. So we have to prioritize things, and in that we often face a lot of challenges. Like in COVID, all the funding went to COVID. COVID is a big issue. It is an issue that is affecting the health of people. But if you recall, if you realize, Shahzad, how much antibiotics were excessively used in COVID, I think you would have heard every other person taking azithromycin during the COVID times without any prescription from a doctor, without any supporting diagnostic test. So it means COVID is an issue, but at the same time, antibiotic resistance is a brewing pandemic which will hit us very soon and very hard. So we need to all act collaboratively without blaming each other. We all need to work together. Definitely reforming the legislations, awareness of our farmers, awareness of our people, awareness of our veterinarians, and as well as our medical practitioners. You and I were talking about mothers giving augmentin to a kid at home. But have you realized how many antibiotics that we get prescribed whenever we go to a doctor for any minor illness? We go to a doctor with flu. Sometimes they prescribe us 2-3 antibiotics. just in hope that if one don't work, the other one will work. The same is true for animal doctors, which are veterinarians. So what happens is they often just give an antibiotic, no matter what. If there is a viral disease of animals, they will just give an antibiotic because they just want to treat the animal. They just want to overcome any issue that could have happened because they just don't want to lose a client. You will be surprised to know that we recently conducted surveys in country on our dairy farmers and our veterinarians in the country, and our 90%, 98% of the dairy farmers which were surveyed from across the country stated that they get antibiotics directly from a pharmacy without consulting a veterinary doctor, just because of the fact that they are already sure what the problem is. So this is the level of overconfidence our farmers have. The same is true for us, as we use Augmentin or Cipro or other antibiotics at home. So it is a shared problem. There is a lot that needs to be done for awareness of different segments of the society, changing legislations, including antibiotic resistance in the veterinary curriculum, in the medical curriculum, because our main focus overall in the medical teachings, both in veterinary medicine and human health, has been on the treatment. But this is the time where we think about preventive medicine. Prevention is better than cure, because if we can prevent something, it's better to prevent it rather than treating it later on. I can just say you, if a farmer can just have a 50 rupees soap on his cattle farm just to wash hands before he goes to animals, and after he is done with the animals, he could protect his animals and himself from a lot of diseases. Because if a disease comes, it is a lot bigger investment than just a 50 rupees or 100 rupee soap just to put there and wash hands. But it's not about 50 rupees or 100 rupees. It's mainly about attitudes. It's our attitudes. It's our behavioral barriers which stop us. We all as a human know that we need to wash our hands before eating food, but we don't do it often because somewhere down in our head, we think that, oh, it's okay, nothing will happen. So it's our attitudes which drive all these problems. So we need to go for behavior change, policy change, so that we can solve this issue and slow down the issue of drug resistance, so that we can save these drugs for our future generation, so that we can have safe and sustainable food to feed to ever growing human population.
It's only during COVID that I realized how long 30 to 45 seconds is. I don't think pre-COVID I ever washed my hands for 30 to 45 seconds. It's when you had to sing happy birthday twice, that's when I realized how long it actually takes to properly wash your hands. I proficiently took Telfast D during my during the past couple of years of COVID. So maybe I am part of the problem. But the great work that you're doing at a policy level, I think it is at the end of the day about mindset as well. Even if we assume legislation is introduced tomorrow and it's the best piece of legislation that has ever existed in the world, the two-pronged things that we need to fix the issues, which is surveillance, regulation, regulators actually going to farmers, actually seeing if it's being implemented, and then farmers also adopting that. That is a longer road, and I'm not sure how long it will take for us to achieve anything on that path.
I think, yes, definitely, it's a very long road, but I think the small steps that different organizations are taking in country are definitely going to bring about a change in the long run, because it's a bigger problem. It's something that will haunt us in few years very badly. So if we start as we have started right now, I think we are moving in the right direction. The only need is that we do not lose our track. We do not just go to another low-hanging fruit. What happens is in our countries like Pakistan, we often go for low-hanging fruit. If another disease comes in, everyone wants to work on that. It's good to work on any new disease that comes in that we need to protect. But if you are already on a certain path, do not lose that path. Keep doing the right work. Like for instance, there is recently a new animal disease introduced in country, which was not existent in Pakistan before that. It is called lumpy skin disease. It mainly affects cattle, and it is definitely an imported disease because it was present in our neighboring countries for a while. When I was working with the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations back in 2020, we have gotten a training on that, that if that disease is introduced in the country, what you need to do. So FAO, UN was ahead of everything, that they try to train several people from the country that if the disease comes in, how we are going to do that. So any occurrence of such disease like lumpy skin disease, which is not going to affect people at all directly through food or anything, it is only going to affect people through trade, because now it has a lot of implications for the trade in the country. Because if our cattle are going out, it will be trouble to send those out, and it will definitely affect the economy of the farmers. It will definitely affect the quality of the animal skins, because it creates nodules on the cattle skin. So it is now rampant in the country. So what I want to overall say is, such diseases are important. We will be definitely be working, but we should not shift our priority. Some people, some resources should be allocated to that, but at the same time, if resources are already being allocated to an already important issue of antibiotic resistant, resources should still be mobilized and used for the cause. Otherwise, we will lose the investment that have been done. And Shahzad, I'm very glad to share that Pakistan is one of the few countries which have made tremendous efforts and achievements in antibiotic resistance in the past few years. Antibiotic resistance was happening for a while, but World Health Organization developed a global action plan to tackle antibiotic resistance in 2015. It's only 7 years from today. And then FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, and World Organization for Animal Health also developed their own action plans. And Pakistan was one of the few countries in the Eastern Mediterranean region of the World Health Organization that developed its national action plan for tackling antibiotic resistance just 5 years before. And then Fleming Fund initiated work in 2019, right after a year or so. So now over about 2.5 years, we have done quite a lot of work on different aspects of this, and considering the sustainability of the effort, because donor cannot invest millions of pounds for such work for decades. So it's at the end of the day, government of Pakistan which have to take lead. So Ministry of Health Services and Regulation and Coordination is implementing already an indigenous funding project in the human health sector. Likewise, Fleming Fund supported Ministry of National Food Security and Research to develop a local PC1, which is a vernacular term for project submission in the Planning Commission of Pakistan. So Fleming Fund supported Ministry of Food Security so that government of Pakistan also allocates funds for indigenous support, so that once Fleming Fund is gone, government of Pakistan has put in some monies from their own resources, from their own development funds, so that these activities can be sustained. Otherwise, what will happen is Fleming Fund will go, and then people will start looking for another option. And all the efforts and all the investments of about 9 million pounds that the Fleming Fund is putting in Pakistan will be definitely ruined and lost in some time. So there is
hopefully that won't happen with people like
justice.
you. With people like you there, hopefully that won't happen. And it's lovely to see how holistically you're looking at the problem. And you're right, many times we prioritize short-term gains over long-term goals. How much of this thinking about things holistically, and you also mentioned that you did a certification in America and you got a chance to see how they work, how much of the Fulbright experience informed you or taught you or trained you to look at things holistically like this? And what was about the Fulbright experience that you were able to bring back to Pakistan and use in your line of work?
Well, Shahzad, if I say in few words, definitely I will elaborate onto that as well. Fulbright has changed overall the way I look at things, and it has been, in other words, a life changer for me. The things that I put in my Fulbright application back in 2013, I traveled in 2014. So I am glad that I am engaged and I am working on the same lines which I put back 9 years ago. Like when I went to the Fulbright in Colorado, Colorado was a university where I really wanted to go, because it is one of the university in the US with state-of-the-art research as well as technical expertise when it comes to epidemiology, specifically veterinary epidemiology. So my advisors over there, my advisor was also a US Fulbright scholar to Nepal, Mo Salman, and he was very helpful in overall my PhD research, giving me exposure within the US. He had over 3 to 4 decades of international work experience, working with different low and middle income countries, working with the developed countries, working with the United Nations and other organizations. So I think overall, when I was on the Fulbright, working with him, coupled with the Fulbright opportunities, enrichment seminars, and a conference funding that Fulbright gave, changed my perspective of looking at issues. For instance, I availed Fulbright funding to go to international conference on emerging infectious diseases that happened in Atlanta, Georgia in 2018. That was the time I had the opportunity to meet several public health professionals, including veterinary public health professionals who work at US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta. So that gave me another perspective of looking at the things, make connections with the people. Likewise, I used to attend US Animal Health Association meetings that happen every year in the US. I was able to make connections during those US Animal Health Association meetings. My advisor helped me to get board certified in veterinary preventive medicine. It was not a requirement of the PhD program. It was not a requirement of Fulbright. It was just for my professional development that I opted to sit for the exam, and I'm very glad that I was able to pass the exam in the first attempt. Usually it is often pretty hard, and usually the people, usually Americans do it, because the ones working in the USDA, CDC, FDA, US Department of Defense, including Customs and Border Protection, the veterinarians working there in the lead or the lead implementers, those are the ones who go through this exam, because and also US Armed Forces personnel also go through this exam, because this is something which gives them a holistic perspective of looking at the animal health issues alongside human health issues. Because as a veterinarian, specifically in the veterinary preventive medicine, we are not only dealing with the issues of animals, we are dealing with the overall global health issues, global health security issues at the intersection of animals, humans, and the environment. So in a nutshell, Fulbright experience, learning about getting education from the US education system, where there is quite a lot of emphasis on the coursework, because coursework is something I think which makes, in my opinion, US PhD distinct from other PhDs, because going through a coursework is not only makes you a good researcher, but it also broadens your scope of imagination. You can think beyond a narrow path. You can think through different aspects that helped me a lot. Then going through this board examination, going through US public health legislations, US animal health legislations, and then how US agencies are working with each other for the shared goal of protecting the health of animals, people, and the environment. So that was very interesting, intriguing, and overall enlightening for me. And I think when I came back to Pakistan, it has been helpful to me. What I'm currently doing here, I work with, as I indicated, for Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations in Pakistan for some time. And then I'm currently working with health security partners in Pakistan for antibiotic resistance. I have also provided some services to Fleming Fund in Nigeria as well, supporting their animal health team in Nigeria for their antibiotic resistance work. So overall, all this coupled has shaped my career path of being in a development sector, working for the global health security. And I'm very glad also to share that our federal ministry oftentimes get in touch with me because of the reason, not only that I have a PhD from the US, but also because of the fact that I have an understanding of the US public health system, US animal health system through the board examination. So they oftentimes try to get my opinion on different aspects that they are dealing in their routine matters of international nature or a national nature. Over.
Brilliant. I think all the work that you do, and it's similar with my Fulbright experience as well. Fulbright has shaped the person that I've become. Thank you so much for all the work that you do. I will try and take less augmentin now after listening to you, but no promises. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you everybody for listening. Take care. Bye-bye.